go in 5, 4, 3, 2. Margaret and Jeremy, welcome to Cultivated Live on this Thursday. Nice to see you, Margaret.
Thank you for having me on. Very exciting to be here with you. As I said at the intro, I've been watching you for years.
I feel like there's a joke about 3 Canadians start off a live stream, everybody's sorry, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pretty good, right? I've been working on something like that, but Jeremy's semi-defected. He lives in New York now, so
yes,
he's joining us from Brooklyn, but we'll forgive him temporarily, and we're going to charge him 25% to join us today.
Maybe 125%.
Maybe 100. We'll let you know.
We need our men on the inside. So let's not be too worried about that. Go down there, Jeremy, do your thing, show them what Canada's all about.
That's right.
A good emissary for sure. Margaret, I know where to start, but it's been a busy time at Rubicon. So first of all, thank you for being here. We've been following Rubicon for some time, obviously. But this week, it's a fortuitous time to talk to you. There's a new round of financing. Give us a little bit of an update there, and then we'll probably jump all over the place.
Yeah, look, Rubicon's in growth, and our balance sheet's in great shape. We've announced an acquisition that we plan to close in the second quarter of a second facility in Hope, an hour and a half from where we are now, and just a little bit more capital. So we've just announced this morning yesterday afternoon, a raise of $3 million. Small, it's targeted. We're going out into the market. We want to have a little bit more juice because where I think we can go in 26 and where this market is heating up, just that makes all the difference to us.
And when you say that, this sort of lends to the next thing. Like, are you thinking growth within the Canadian landscape? Of course, I would imagine, but also beyond. I think we saw an announcement, was it in March, about a shipment to Poland?
Yeah, look, we're excited.
About sort of the Canadian landscape and international as well.
Yeah, so Canada is roaring, and I think a lot of people have left the Canadian market not understanding that brand is being built today. It's still early days of brand. We're 7 years in. We are the most advanced and really the largest adult use cannabis market in the world. Obviously, that's legal. And we see that this is the moment to make sure that you're driving your brands into Canada and committed to the Canadian customer, but also around the world, countries are turning on to the effectiveness and efficacy of medical cannabis. And medical cannabis is, they want a quality, great product, which is where we will come in, I think, in 26 more substantially than we certainly are now because we're capacity constrained. But we see big opportunity. This year, we're doing test and learn internationally. What does that mean? Small lots, different partners, looking at who we want to work with, where are we going to be in the best market, and what market do we think is the strongest market for the future. But we are committed to Canada. We're committed to building brand, and the strength of that brand in Canada is going to give us more opportunities internationally.
So, Margaret, there is an election coming up in Canada. I know that the Cannabis Act, they've been talking about changing it. There's been a lot of push and pull on that. Not to get too deep into politics, but what are some changes or some alterations that you'd like to see the new or potentially the same government carry over with the Cannabis Act?
Good question. Look, I think Trudeau did what he set out to do in legalizing cannabis. I have to say I'm disappointed with the follow through in terms of, they got it done, but didn't follow through to support the industry. I think that the government is going to very much sit up and take notice to the fact that this is an industry that is a GDP grower for Canada and is not subject to tariff. And our largest customer, we do not sell into the US at all. Look, there's no cross-border transactions because of the federal status in the US. This morning, Organigram just came out with a study that talked about the support of Canadians for cannabis and our ability to be a competitive advantage in the world. I want us to drive at that. So what I'm asking government for is support, including support of the Canadian industry. If we do not support a strong Canadian industry, we're going to end up being taken out get hollowed out like we've seen with other industries. And we have the opportunity to be very similar to Canada over indexes in the mining industry. Cannabis is that. We have 7 years of knowledge in an adult use market. We have fantastic cultivators. We have great brands emerging, and we have expertise and knowledge here. So I'd like the government to lean in, and I think some regulatory changes around making it easier to operate, red tape reduction, and I'd love to see them cut off the online access to the illicit market. Now, I think the legacy market is such a huge part of how we got here, but their direct access to the consumer through online platforms makes it really challenging for legal businesses.
Yeah. It's also interesting. It's interesting. Some of this conversation, things you just mentioned, like harken back to 2017, 2018, right? There's this opportunity for Canada to lead. And how does that happen? It seems like there's renewed conversation in it, not only because companies like you are shipping internationally, shipping to Poland, shipping to Germany, shipping to other places, but also because international trade is now a front burner issue. And it is interesting that it's sort of, I don't know, full circle, but come back to be on the front burner of the conversation about Canadian cannabis in the midst of, a worldwide trade war where cannabis is actually, I think, an interesting part of the conversation.
Yeah. And look, do you want to know what else is happening? There's a global shortage of cannabis, and there's a global shortage of legal cannabis. So this, I think, is going to get, I think that right now we're seeing that outside of the industry, people don't understand that because they heard about oversupply for so long. And a number of people ask me, are we seeing, aren't we just going to have that supply turned back on? No, those were uneconomic, poor quality facilities that weren't set up to properly grow weed that people actually want to consume. So, the list of facilities today that can produce quality weed and consistent quality weed, which is what the global medical market needs, is very low. And so it makes, the timing of our acquisition very timely. We're excited. We're ready to play. We're here for it. And we want to, in the same way we've approached the Canadian market, with building trust with brand, with consumers, with high quality and consistency, and working every day to be better at that. That's the approach we're going to take in the medical markets as well.
Margaret, I know you and lots of others got back recently from the Global Cannabis Regulator Summit. I think it was the last week in March in DC. Is this part of the conversation that was being had in DC? And I wonder what sort of the response of the US folks were there, but also others from around the world who were looking at this as a worldwide industry, maybe absent the US.
Look, I think the Americans that were present, and lots of great friends, we're really surprised at the optimism and growth and excitement around what's happening in the rest of the industry, because they're not feeling that at home. We've got big wars happening with the MSOs. I mean, it's very well documented. And then intoxicating hemp cannabinoids and the complexity of those issues. Those are US issues. Those aren't happening in other markets. In other markets, in particular Europe and Canada, that just doesn't exist. And I had a few people say to me, God, you guys sounds like you're having fun and you're in the growth. And I was like, yeah, we've gone through those dark times and we've fought through price compression, and we've fought in those battles. We are battle scarred, and we are ready to go. And I think that the international markets are turning around saying, we want high quality, consistent supply for medical patients. And there's only a few companies in the world that are going to be able to deliver that, in particular in the next 24 months, 36 months, because there isn't the capital going into building new facility. So we saw that excitement in, from 2016 to 2020, we saw this hype cycle of capital, and so much money came in, and facilities were built. But right now we're seeing the global supply shortage, but there are not new facilities being turned on. So this is going to get to a pinch point really quickly here as more and more markets turn on. France has announced going medically legal, et cetera. Where's that supply going to come from? And where's that consistent quality supply going to come from? Yeah.
It is interesting that every new market that comes on, even when new states come on, but certainly new international markets, there is this supply shortage. And I guess I don't want you to project 5-10 years down the road, but it seems to me that Canada, because we did have that sort of influx of capital, facilities built / overbuilt, we have the excess supply and may for a long time, maybe forever. I don't know.
I don't think forever. Look, you asked me about the global summit. I didn't fully answer your question. One is global shortage, really hearing that and excitement. Thirdly, I think that people don't understand the limit. I think the same mistake on THC inflation is going to happen around the world, because it's one of the only metrics that people can understand. And so that's my one caution that I was trying to express to people. And I feel like some of the same mistakes are going to be made and not listened to. in terms of where are we going, I think we're going to a globalized agriculture market. So, distillate that goes into medicines, that goes into more simple value products, and outdoor grow are going to be grown around the equator in farming communities around the world. But where is, we always like to say there's never been enough good weed, and our team says it a lot, and why not us? And look, we see that 7 years into Canadian legal cannabis on scale, there have been very few premium producers that can consistently satisfy their consumer. So look, I think staying in premium, staying in brand, and staying with quality, and then really it's going to be about a genetic opportunity and having the right genetics for the right consumer. That's where Canada's opportunity is. I don't know if in 10 years, maybe 6 to 8 years, growing mid-grade product in Canada is going to be economic.
Thinking about global markets, global opportunities, Margaret, what is most exciting to you? I mean, there's a lot of movement in different places. Chile just had an announcement that they might move towards regulated cannabis. Germany, sort of in fits and starts. France, you mentioned. So what's exciting to you, and what are you looking at as an operator right now? I'm
really personally excited about Europe. I think that the quality story has not yet consistently been shown across Europe. And I think, look, Australia is probably going to have its homegrown market. It's already I think currently it's the world's largest medical market outside of Canada. And it's growing very rapidly, but everybody's run there. I think Europe, the cost of power in terms of turning on facility and the cost of capital and labor, et cetera, other than some companies that are incredibly well capitalized, I think they're going to be importing product. And so that is an opportunity, and that's where premium is going to play. Which country? I'm at ICBC in a week and a half. We're in test and learn phase. So I want to say I have more to learn. Germany's obviously very exciting. But look, there's Switzerland, there's Poland, there's the UK, France. I mean, who doesn't love going to France? Right. There's a lot of markets there to look at, and each one of them in their space. Look, we don't have enough product to supply all of them. I've got to grow our business, and that's part of why that's our financing. We want to grow a little bit more quickly because we see this opportunity coming.
I want to ask sort of one question. I don't know the final question, but thinking about Rubicon Organics and the Canadian landscape, right? We're now, 2018, 2025, like a lot of years in. We've learned a lot, I think, and that's one of the questions. But like, what have we learned about consumer trends, consumer preference? Does it change over time? Is it like where it was like up and down, trying everything? Is it like, does it pan out over time? Like, what are you seeing as a brand and a company, or brands and a company, about consumer trends in Canada that maybe is unique to Canada or that other markets may learn from over time?
I think the biggest thing is consistent quality builds your brand promise. That's true of every industry, but a lot of people just put whatever into bags under their brand. They spend a lot of sales and marketing dollars on the brand and then just put whatever into the and when you disappoint the consumer, what really matters is building that brand promise and holding firm to it. We've made decisions in the past, if a crop comes down and it's not there, that we won't put it into Simply Bare Organic or 1964. We really want to hold the brand promise. And then because of that brand promise, people give the opportunity to new products to trial. And if they like it, it's after the trial, it's the next stage of, do they repurchase it? And then more importantly, will they recommend it? So I think new markets should understand the power of the pharmacist or the bud tender, depending on what type of market they are, to the consistency of experience. And quality wins. So it's not about how much money you spend. It's about, and I talk to our people all the time, people get to the end of their day and they take their hard-earned dollars and they trust our brands with that product. Let's make it great. And let's make it great every time. And that is more important than anything, because that's our brand promise. So I think in terms of trend, we see people always go back to their same cores. They often love their cores, and then they try new news. So you want to have new news, in particular in premium products. We see about an 18-month cycle on a strong genetic. Obviously, we have ones that last a lot longer than that. Our Blue Dream, we've been growing since our very first crop and is still one of our top sellers and a loved brand, or excuse me, a loved strain. But new news matters to the cannabis consumer, which I think is also why we see constant new brands. They come out in market, they make a splash. It's about being consistent with that and actually delivering on the promise. It's not about constantly putting something new out. And so trust. I mean, trust is as simple as that. And then win on quality. Do a great job.
Yeah, it's good lessons. It does strike me. I don't want to put words in Jeremy's mouth. He was about to talk, but it does strike me that a cannabis CEO of a publicly traded company in Canada almost has a lot more on your plate, Margaret, than cannabis CEOs in other places, right? On this conversation, we talked about raising capital. We talked about an acquisition of a facility. We talked about shipping internationally. We talked about, weathering challenging days, and talked about like consumer facing brands in one country in the US. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot.
People think I'm nuts, I would say, but I think that, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again, life's a contact sport and I'm in the game and we are in the game. Rubicon and our team, we have tremendous talent, and you can't do what we do and work as hard as we do if you don't like who you work with, and value our core values around integrity, quality, excellence. It really matters, and it matters every day, and we go in and we fight the good fight every day. I also say we're building brands that are going to be on shelf in 30 years. That's our goal. So, I did some work with Diageo back when I was in my late 20s, and the former CEO used to say, we're caretakers of these brands while they sit with us. And I've always appreciated and understood that. And you don't open up a bottle of Heineken or a bottle of a glass of Guinness or have a expensive scotch and wonder about the quality in that. You're looking for the experience, and that's what we're looking to do. In terms of our team, I would say battle-scarred opportunities of anybody that's been in the Canadian or any of these sectors. Man, we've learned a lot, and it's real resilience. And people laugh when they come and visit us because they have this impression of us being. Some people think we're a tiny company, other people think we're a big company. It depends on who you're talking to. And I think we over-index in a lot of ways for the size that we are. But we work out of trailers at our site, and it's kind of a badge of honor. We haven't spent money on expensive things. I share my office. We've got used office equipment. We're cheap and cheerful. But that being said, it's time to take Rubicon up a notch, and take up a notch with our quality and with our people. We don't need to spend money on all those other things. It kind of makes it fun. Like let's pay people a great wage, have them feel good, work hard, be proud of what we do. That builds culture, that builds team, and that builds pride.
I like it. Well, not everybody has.
I always say I'm the cheesy BC weed person. Like, yeah. That's who we are, and I'm so proud to work with our team every day because, you see people smiling as they walk through the greenhouse, and you see somebody there's a little bunny that hops underneath one of the trailers constantly because we have dogs at site. They're running to get the bunny, and there's a bird of prey. There's literally bald eagles that fly constantly above our site, and you can't make this up. And it's right in Delta, BC. I'd love our future hub to be. I'd love to have 25,000 kilos of premium supply today, but I think over the next few years, that's where we're looking to go. And selling most of it in Canada, but some of it abroad as well. Building the promise of what BC weed can do, and I'm really proud to be leading this journey right now. And I think Canada and British Columbia and Vancouver should be proud of the legacy we have. So many people don't understand, though, our link to the US. The draft dodgers came up, hippie smoking guys and gals, settled in BC, started growing weed. So we do have this intrinsic link to the US that people don't understand from BC culture. And there's a real West Coast vibe that goes up and down. And I love it. I think it's awesome. Did I think 20 years ago this is what I would be doing? Absolutely not. Do I love it and have leaned into it for the last 10 years? And a real shout out to our founder, Jesse McConnell, who said to me on the very first day, I said, oh, I'm not doing this for real. And I'll be honest, I said, I'll work nights and weekends. I had people say to me, you're crazy. How could you do this to your father's legacy? What are you, you're never going to get another job. And I was like, I don't think that. And I'm kind of proud of this. And I think this is pretty cool. And Jesse turned to me, I said something about the black market, and it was the first day. And he said, the legacy market and the medical patients got us to where we are today. So we always respect them. And I have understood and believe that so strongly. And one of the things that I'd like to do is bring the legacy market of Canada help those people still operating there come into the legal market. It's still the largest untapped market in Canada. It's 30 to 40%. And so let's help that come into the legal market. Let's create opportunities. People can get mortgages, all the things that are advantageous when you're in the legal market. We'd love to encourage it.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the cheesy BC weed person. So, I'm really proud of what we do, and we have a lot of people that have come from the legacy market that work with us, and we're, look at the innovation coming out of the legacy market with the strains and the genetics, and it's awesome, and we should be celebrating it and encouraging it to come into the legal market. That's what we can do as a business.
Well, not every CEO we talk to has a picture of the team over their, I guess it's your right shoulder.
Yeah.
And certainly many don't work out of trailers anymore. But I'd rather have a full trailer of a cannabis company still in business than an empty, fancy building, of which there are lots of them, of cannabis companies gone by. So kudos to you and your team, and thanks for making time. Thanks for making time today.
Yeah, well, and I'd be wrong. I have a bit of a habit of always giving me a personal recommendation of one of our products.
Sure.
And this spring, my top recommendation is our Pink Drip under Simply Bare. It's a strain that's just launched in Q2 nationally. It is unbelievably sweet, cakey smelling. It's beautiful. I love those types of strains, and I would encourage you to go out and give it a try. And if not that, the 1964 THC CBG Blue Raspberry Gummy is off the hook.
Jeremy can't have them.
You can send some to our offices in my apartment. So, yeah.
Well, Margaret, thanks so much for your time and your passion, and for sharing the Rubicon story. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and really appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.